April 5th meeting.
So moved.
Second motion.
And seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. Are there additions or any corrections? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, that motion carries. Gentlemen, Judge Davenport has a budget amendment, and she has a special function, so I have given her the courtesy of presenting her budget amendment. Section 3 of your notebooks, please. Good evening.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We are asking for an increase of $10,000 to get us through the year to pay for our part-time magistrate, who is Adam Dodd, to get us through with his court time. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have about that.
And it's coming out of your line item, so it's,
No.
where is it? Am I looking?
You're in finance.
Oh, there we go, there we go,
I
yeah.
wish.
The dreaded
Yeah.
unassigned fund balance.
Oh, yeah. It's still 10,000.
There we go.
It's an additional 10,000.
Okay.
Is it some reason why there's a lot more this year use than?
We're busy.
Is it?
You know, when we're doing 3 or 4 emergency removals on abuse cases, and those are in, and you have to have those hearings in 3 days, that's where he's trying to pick up our slack. And we're also seeing an increase with the Department of Children's Services where they may safety plan the children, but then they still have to come in and have a court hearing to take that plan of care and ratify that into a court order. And he's helping us do those. And those are increasing. He's now helping us all day Tuesdays and most Thursdays, and helping me sometimes on Mondays. Because we are just faced with such statutory requirements.
There's just the two of you
There's
that can
the
do
2
that.
of us, and then Magistrate Dodd's part-time.
I'll make a motion to approve this
Thank you, sir.
budget amendment.
Commissioner P, thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Shaker. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Shafer.
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay.
You're welcome. Okay, gentlemen, if you will locate your investment report. Our county attorney, Mr. Beatty.
County attorney now?
Well, sorry, have you just been promoted or demoted? I'm not sure.
I have no comment on this. That's a no-win.
Our county trustee, Mr. Beatty, will give the investment report.
You can see LGIP is still consistent, but we did have 3 bids over the last month, and those are better than our LGIP rates, still nowhere near the participation or the rates that we would like or we have seen, but it's better.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Jernigan, seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We are ready for our fund condition report, and we will begin with the development tax report.
In April, we received $358,500, which brings our total for the year up to $1,370,250. As of today, it's $1.4 million.
And what was your estimate for
$1
this
million.
year?
$1 million.
So you're almost .4 or 400,000.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I hear the same thing with the state, their revenues are coming in quite a bit higher, so.
And our sales tax, this month, April, which was March sales,
Right.
we just got that yesterday, and we're, us and the whole county and the cities, up 9% from the prior month last year.
Okay, gentlemen, if you will go to cash balances.
Cash balances at the end of April was $225,508,000, with $181,010,000 being operating funds, $44,498,000 being borrowed funds. And you've got your revenue review comparing the July to April to the prior 5 months, and flipping on the side, solid waste has already made 100% of their budget for their revenue. And every one of them are exceeding the prior periods, which tells us that we'll be estimating and increasing revenue line items. It is a smirk.
Like, that's a smirk, okay.
It's a smirk, only because it's, alluding to the drug fund, it's at 80.5% collected, and comparing that, it's below last year's, but ahead of the other ones.
Just trying to keep up with our scientific system, the smiley faces, and smirks have now been instituted, so at least there's no frowny faces.
Right.
On 171 and dispatch, is that sheriff's dispatch office, that's pretty much
It's pretty much
done.
done. Yes,
Maybe a
and-
few outstanding.
And then
bills
we'll
there.
return that remaining back to the development tax.
Anything else getting kind of jeopardizing close or something? Of course, we've got a lot of moving around here in these next 2 months to
Firing range.
balance out.
Firing range is probably
Firing
finished.
range ought to be done, and we're gonna have to, the city has a share of that money, and so we're gonna have to, if we don't complete it, at least send the city back their part of where we are. That's been, as you said, it's been going on since 2007, they've requested the last 2 years, are we close to closing?
There's some few problems they're having with the structure, so I don't know, they're not here to tell us, but we don't wanna push that money back yet, but we see if we're gonna need it to do some remedial work.
Okay.
We need to follow up on that.
Motion to approve the report, Madam Chairman.
Commissioner Sanders.
Just a quick question on the sales tax.
Just a minute,
Second.
let's get a second. Okay, we have a
Sorry.
second. Thank you,
I thought-
Commissioner Schaefer,
We've
go ahead.
already done that. And the sales, can you pinpoint the areas that are showing the big increase? Is it all over the county, or is it places like the big retail centers like Town Center of Smyrna or the Avenue, something like this?
I can't pinpoint like the where, but Murfreesboro, do you remember their percentages?
Yeah, I have them right here. I do have them. But all the municipalities are doing well. Murfreesboro's up 9.62%, Smyrna's up 5.51, Eagleville is Laverne is 6.12. Eagleville is down 8%, so, but the overall effect of the whole entities, including us, is 6.74, 10 months compared to the last 10 months.
And then what kind of, were you projecting an increase?
No, we had a decrease, remember, we're in the payback period of where
For
the.
us.
No, I meant, yeah, but for overall, when you, in the budget this year, wasn't it a slight increase?
No, for schools,
Yeah.
yeah, but we're exceeding that.
We're exceeding it greatly.
And actually exceeding in the other funds too.
Any other discussion or questions for Mrs. Nolan? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that motion carries. All right, we are ready for risk management, and Mrs. Nolan is going to present the financial report.
I'll start with the health fund. And as of April, just counting both medical, dental, and vision, we were at $853.56 the EPM compared to $652.82 for April of last year. Our year-to-date average, well, I'll jump to the end on that one. And then when you include the on-site medical, we're at $903.81 for April compared to $704.42 at April of last year. Our trend, our year-to-date trend is $841.77 compared to the year-to-date trend of last year of $724.74, and we're running at a 16.1% increase.
Seems like it's industry-wide, there's a lot of industries around saying the same thing, they're running. One insurance person told me that to expect 1.5% a month trend, which would be 18%,
Wow.
which we're not far behind.
That's right.
But, you know, on the same token, all those years, where the trend, even when Lois was here in those few years, we were running at 2%, where everybody else was running at 8, 9. I guess we're due for a bad year. On the OJI, year-to-date claims, 903,270 compared to 765,395 last year. And the reason for that is they have had additional payouts on some medical or some old workers' comp claims. I don't have how many are still open.
What I was gonna ask. She told us.
It's still within the same. I'm thinking 19.
Didn't one of them get reopened and it went from 19 back to 20?
Chair will entertain a motion on the financials.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Stanley.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Journey. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that motion carries. The insurance committee is forwarding to us renewals for property, casualty, crime, public officials, and education legal liability. And Mrs. Bowman will join us.
Commissioner Ely. Good evening. She had given me.
And what do
Do you have handouts? I do.
Okay.
Janet, did this change from what we
It
had?
did.
It did change?
Yes,
It
it
did
did.
change.
Well, from the insurance news.
Yes, I'm not sure.
That was the plan, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Do you have an extra?
Good. Let's start off, everybody get a copy, start on a really positive note. First of all, I have 2 checks from Excess to give to Ms. Nolan tonight. The first one is from your Excess carrier that has the liability insurance, which is ACE. Check for $197,416.41 in the recovery on the excess.
Yay, this is gonna adjust an amendment we have tonight.
So, and then we have another one from a very old claim, back to 1996, it's on the workers' comp. This one is from Frontier, we did not handle this back in that time. This particular insurance company actually became insolvent, but we were in mediation on this several years back. We have a check for $15,684.15 on the recovery on that one, so it's always nice to start off with some recoveries before we get into the nuts and bolts here.
This was a workers' comp.
Okay, the very first page, I'm just gonna kind of walk through that. Feel free to stop me if you have any questions. The very first page just goes over the exposures of the county and Board of Education. And you'll see the purple has the expiring limits or values, and then the green has the renewal, and then the percentage of difference. So the very first section is the property, the county building values, contents values. You'll see a total of a 3% increase. The schools, buildings and values and contents, 1% on the building increase, 3% on the contents. And then we were pretty flat on miscellaneous equipment, contractors' equipment, and musical instruments. The total insured values for the county is up around 2%. On the casualty.
I'm just gonna ask you right quick, on the building values, why would the school building values not increase the same or close to, I mean, you got 3%, 1% on schools, 3% on county buildings, I mean, why would it be such a difference?
It sort of depends what was put in place, the use structures, et cetera.
Well, I mean, and the school buildings would be the newest ones.
But we didn't build anything in, this year.
It's not in our possession yet, you know, it's still under construction.
Yeah, the stuff is on.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just, it doesn't make any sense to me why it would be 3% on your
But it doesn't take much of a project to get 3% in the county budget.
Yeah,
Since
I
our base is
understand, yeah.
150 million and they're at 800 million.
Carry on, I just,
And on the casualty side, one of the reasons why I kind of like to lay this out for you, this is the rating base that the underwriters use when they're looking at your exposures versus the premium that they're gonna be charging. On the casualty, the number of vehicles went from 628 to 662. I think that's probably about 15 low. Since we prepared this, I think there's 15 additional units that will be in the sheriff's department. But since the premium's already been quoted, those will be just absorbed. The general operating expenditures, about a 9% increase. Population remained somewhat the same. Obviously, they're gonna go off the census on that. Last year, we included the fire department hired a non-owned physical damage coverage. Crime, public officials, and educators' legal liability, that's rated off of the number of employees and then the number of students for the schools. So you can kind of see the exposure differences there. If you flip over to the second page, this goes into your property and inland marine coverage. Your property is underwritten with Travelers Insurance Company. That's a very well-known name in the industry. A lot of governmental entities, a lot of counties in the area, in the Middle Tennessee area, have Travelers Insurance Company. They, if you recall, actually came in last year and actually took over the business from Allianz. Y'all had been with Allianz on the property for about 7 to 9 years, and Allianz actually got out of the public sector in writing insurance in the public sector. So Travelers purchased that book of business, and that's the reason for the change there. So this is your second year with Travelers. You will see what we provided to the insurance committee is that very first line in the yellow, that's at 100,000. Your current retention is at 100,000. So that's exactly what, if there was a tornado or hail damage on a property owned by the county or Board of Education, that is the amount that the county or Board of Education would be out the first 100,000. You'll see the expiring rate at the 0.0349, that's per 100 of building values. Then you'll see your expiring total insured value at the $1,036,000,000. You'll see your expiring quote. You'll see your renewal rate at the 0.0371, and your current TIV at $1,050,000,000. The quoted premium at $389,780. The exposure difference, if you look on down, the exposure increase overall is around the 2% combined. The premium increase was around 8%, the difference being around 6%, because that's typically how the underwriters look at that. Now, this premium is exactly the same that was brought to the insurance committee. So what I did, I went back and asked them to quote a optional quote for a higher retention at $200,000. You'll see that the rate in the pink there drops. If you obviously take on more risk, your rate's going to drop. The rate would drop to the 0.3455. Same total insured values, and you see that the premium would drop down to $362,998. You know, one of the things there, I guess, to consider is how many times you think this is a per occurrence deductible, how many times you would potentially want to, I guess, gamble, and that you might have to pay out that 100,000 or 200,000 retention. Now, with that being said, your current losses for the 2000 in the current year that's with Travelers is right at, they have paid out around $375,000. So you will be getting some recoveries back on that in the current year. But again, the option of the $200,000 there is just something to get the premium down. If you're looking at the premium, then I guess you have to kind of weigh, is it to take 100,000 more and assume that risk versus the premium that you're saving there?
The difference on that for the 200,000, it's 6%, at 100,000, what would it be at 200,000, what percent?
You know, I did not back into that math.
It's about $25,000 less. It would drop that 6 to maybe 5%, or 5.5.
Right.
Yeah,
We're only gonna save $26,000 something dollars.
Yeah.
In one occurrence,
Yeah,
we
And then
lose $100,000.
Two tornadoes come through a week apart,
What I was looking at.
and
Yeah.
they hit something.
Yes.
That's not, to double your, exposure and only get a 1% change or less,
Right.
that's not much of a change.
Yeah, it's similar to like a homeowner's policy. If you take your comp and collision on a personal auto and you have a 250, 500, and you up that to 500, 1,000, you'll see maybe $30 or $40 difference. It's the same here. They have got such exposure at $1 billion in property TIVs
Mhm.
that, and of course, we all know, there's been a lot of hail storms coming through, a lot of tornadoes, and they've taken a hit, not in this county in particular, even though
They
they've had.
really did.
Well,
This one occurrence in our county was about 175,000, so
right.
we were well advised to have the 100,000.
That's
What if-
exactly right.
What if we went to 50,000? I mean, if it's that small a difference between
I don't know.
100 and 200, what would it be at 50? I mean, it might be worth it to us.
We went to 100 in the last 7 or 8 years, didn't we? It's like we were less than that.
I don't know.
Yeah, you've been at that probably for, at least 7 to 8 years.
I remember when we went there,
Mhm.
because it got so expensive.
That's right.
And 100, there was huge savings at 100, but I'm not saying going to
Right.
200 doesn't do that again, you know, and
Right. You're-
that gets
you
them out of
probably
paying
have
for every car that crashes and things like that, you know. And it was at 25 or something.
Right.
Can we have that information when this comes to us at the commission level?
50,000 retention.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, if it's that tight or that close on the settlement.
But this number of 389, 780, that is the same number we saw at the insurance committee?
That number is correct. Yeah,
That is-
that is the same number. I
Okay.
went back and after pulling the loss runs, right now the property, like I said, is from 7/1/2011 to 6/30. Obviously, we're not at 6/30 yet, but just the current run. Total 372,500 is what's been paid out right now. So you will get back from excess, from travelers, the difference, anything that's went over 100,000, you'll get back that 272,500.
But is that the aggregate, or do you have to get the per individual?
Right.
back?
You're
In other words,
right.
We're
You've
not
had a
gonna
couple.
get the whole thing back, we're gonna get.
You're right.
On this hail, we're gonna get 75,000 back.
It's
Right.
per incident?
Per
It is
occurrence.
per
It's not
occurrence.
aggregate.
It's not aggregate.
And there was a couple of these, obviously on the hail, the October 18th, the hail damage claim, that was just the one price, but you did have one at the Board of Education, 175,000 in damage. You had one 112,000 at the adult
So we got
education.
about
Right.
three claims that exceed then.
So you will be getting some money back on that side of it.
Ms. Stinson recommends that we stay with the 100. She does not want to go to 200,000.
And if you're gonna take that leap, I think it would behoove you to go up even higher to 300, at least to see some type of price break, but I'm not recommending that. But yet, you're right, the difference between 100,000 and the premium, the premium difference there just really doesn't make a lot of sense. Page 2 goes into the crime coverage. That's with Great American, that premium, you have an exposure increase of 3%, but the premium remained flat there at 8,900. Same limits, same deductibles, same premium, exposure increase, but they absorb that. And then the third is ACE, which handles all of the casualty, which to the left you'll see exactly what ACE is covering as far as the lines of coverage. The expiring limits are the same. The retention, when it was presented to the insurance commission, our committee, was at 200,000 on the auto physical damage. And we went back and negotiated it down to 100,000. It was expiring at 25,000. Of course, ACE is probably gonna end up paying somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 to 500,000, which is gonna pretty much exhaust their premium from last year in the hail damage claim of October 18th of 2011. So, obviously, they wanted to go up on the auto physical damage portion, but we were able to get them to cut that in half since the insurance committee meeting. And then also, we did get them to lower their premium. If you'll look at that second column, not second column, but the where it says initial premium quoted, the block was $716,500. and then the renewal premium is $709,500. So we were able to get them to give us a price break since the insurance committee meeting and go down on the retention.
Let me get something clear in my head.
Sure.
You said it was 25,000.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that per vehicle?
That's per occurrence.
Per occurrence?
Right.
Okay.
So you.
That's.
Yes.
Because we've got some, I thought we had some where we had 25,000 deductible on the.
I mean, if it was a one vehicle incident, it's 25,000, but like that hail damage was one event.
So it's cumulative if there's one car or 50 cars.
Correct.
Okay.
So in this
The
case.
two
Unless
sheriffs
it's
each other.
two individuals.
Okay, that's
That's
what I
it.
wanted to.
Right.
Is that one occurrence or
So
two?
on the hail damage claim, it was one
And
occurrence,
that's
so
at
the
the
county's
same
at
time.
25,000,
Right.
and excess will pay probably around 300 to 500.
We say one, they say
So
two.
there's like, I think there was 238 vehicles that were damaged
Right.
in that. But they did, I was glad that they did come down on premium at, down to the 709,500. And then if you look at the exposure increase at the 9%, the premium increase at 6%, it's really the way underwriters look at it is that they actually gave a credit of 3%. I know anyway, we can argue that, but anyway, they did come back and come down on the premium and the retention.
Go up in price, I have to say. Well, the insurance committees, and our directors would be to stay with this recommendation and also with the 100,000 over on the property, correct?
That's our recommendation.
Make a motion to approve that.
Commissioner Sandlin, thank you.
Second.
And seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion or questions from Mrs. Bowman
I'm okay with that, but, you know, I'd like to see, I would like to see the figures on the other
on the
one.
50,000? Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Gina, that first check, was that,
That's on
that
one of the
excess,
lawsuits.
was that the county?
That is.
For county, okay, that's good.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, we will work with our budget amendments, ambulance service. Section 3 in your notebooks, please. Mr. Nunley. Mr. Nunley, you have 3 amendments. If you will explain those to us, we'll take those as one vote.
I only have two.
He didn't know about the other one.
Oh.
He'll tell you about the two and he'll tell you about the
Okay, okay.
Surprise.
We're asking to transfer $70,000 from our ending fund balance to gasoline, which is fuel. And also to transfer $90,000. Actually, it's an increase on mission charges and also an increase on other contracted services. That has to do with the company that does our collections for us. We pay a percentage of when they collect more than we anticipated we owe them for.
We have more to give them.
That's a good thing.
And then the third one is a request on the assigned fund balance of 10,000 for judgments to pay liability claims.
So we'll move, Madam Chair.
Mr. Sandlin, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan.
We don't have anywhere we can find that 10,000. I mean, looking at, is your balance up there? In the.
2.5 million.
Yeah, 2.5. We can't find that 10,000.
Um,
Somewhere else.
Within his budget.
Within the budget somewhere.
I don't.
We don't have it in front of us, but.
If he doesn't spend his budget this year,
He gets back.
he'll increase his fund balance. We might go down even some of the 70 maybe, but it's so close that we didn't find it, I guess. It's too. The only thing it could have come out of it might have
Well-
been salary somewhere.
You know,
Everything else is nothing else to take what's money from?
I was fixing to say, well, why didn't we see that in public safety, but you said this was one he hadn't seen, so
Right,
I
right.
know why.
The other offset, I would say, that will come later is probably when, we do the revenue adjustments, there'll be more than 10 that will come in.
Well, Mike, with us paying that extra 90 to the collection people, that means that they brought in quite a bit more. How much more than we anticipated had they brought in? So that, I want to hear some good news.
You're projecting 6.3, and this changes it to 5.5.
Gentlemen, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Nunn. Gentlemen, county buildings.
This is a request to provide additional funding for communications of $15,000 and utilities of $32,000 coming from building improvements.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schaefer.
What kind of adjustments are we talking about, please?
Back on the other one?
On this one?
No, it's
That's
No,
one we
no,
just
no.
did.
Are you on county
Oh, we did
buildings?
that one.
county building.
Okay.
That was one.
There, now I'm, sorry.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Property assessor and reappraisal, Mr. Boner.
As he's coming up, this is a request. One of the employees in the reappraisal budget had overtime of $340, and there was no overtime budgeted in the reappraisal budget, but there was sufficient overtime in the assessor budget. So this is a request to move $340 from that overtime and the related benefits to the reappraisal overtime, $340.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Second.
Mr. Sanders, seconded by Commissioner P.
Thought we had a tough one. That ain't a tough one.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
I'll abstain.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you.
I think so.
Circuit Court Clerk, Mrs. Bolden, hello.
Hello.
And gentlemen, if you will look at your budget amendment request page, at the top of the page, you need to make sure this is account number 53100. And another correction, postal charges should be line item 348. Excuse me.
348.
Yes, we just need to make sure we get the mailing done for the end of the year and office supplies for the end of the year. So I'm just moving money from within my budget to cover that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yeah.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you. Correctional Work Center. Hello, Mr. Solandi. Okay, your budget amendment, please.
Proposing to appropriate, let's see, 5,000 out of line 413 and 3,000 out of 418 to place into 335 to get us through the fiscal year for repair and maintenance of the facility.
Was most of that related to the kitchen?
the kitchen and the grounds, and we had to reseal the drywall as we did. Old seven, so we did that. So that we had to do, and of course, food service, as you said.
So moved.
Commissioner Stanley, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Peak. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes.
Looked like he was gonna hightail it on us, I just wanted to ask a
Oh.
question.
I get comfortable.
On that drive, how do you get that done? You bid that out, or what's it?
Yes, we had to get at least 3 bids.
It was under 10,000, but he still got 3 quotes, if it's under 10.
Well, what my question was, is that something the highway department can do, since it's not, it's
They
county?
probably can't, they can furnish asphalt, but we have to reimburse the cost of asphalt. District Attorney can tell us.
Is that the state lobbyist that's,
No, you just can't do it. You got it for roads, you ain't got it for, county
Yeah, we
property.
did.
I mean, we're paying for both of them, I mean, it looks like.
It's like parking lots in
That gasoline
schools.
tax revenue
Yeah,
cannot be
yeah.
shared.
Difference, so.
It can only be used for county roads.
You
I'm
don't.
trying, so.
We have
Trust me.
to, we have to hire
That's that
individual
part.
companies to pave a parking lot in the school when the highway department's paving right down the road in front, but we can't veer them over there and take care of it.
They can buy asphalt off of their contract price, I mean, which helps us.
All right, that was my question, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gregory, Pet Adoption and Welfare Services. Good evening, Mr. Gregory.
We're asking to move money from our attendant line item, our advertising, and our dues and memberships, as well as medical and dental services, over to our part-time personnel, our overtime pay, and our veterinary services lines. This should get us through the end of the year on those 3 lines.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Peak.
And this is mainly because of turnover.
Yes, sir. We had quite a few vacancies that account for the overtime pay. The part-time, we budgeted what we had done previously, but we'd overspent that last year. This year's budget, we're adding more to that to hopefully not have to do this quite so often.
How's your gasoline account looking?
Our gasoline account, you all budgeted to do an amendment of, I think it was $5,000 this past month because we were running pretty tight.
Right.
Yes, sir. We budgeted, I think, $35,000 for the year. We're gonna be just a little bit over, so that's why Elaine suggested put the $5,000 in there.
Just wanted to make sure we're still in line with that, thank you.
And the new system's supposed to save us some money, correct?
We hope
As
so.
well, so hopefully that will help us next year, because it keeps going up.
The price goes up, that's what's affecting all
killing
of
us.
this.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you. Gentlemen, we have a miscellaneous budget amendment. Mrs. Nolan?
I would like to change this amendment based on Mrs. Bowman's check and change that from 400,000 to 200,000. This is request to move money from unassigned to judgments to pay for liability claims.
One occurrence or a whole?
There's some multitude.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin.
If we vote no, does that mean we don't have to pay them?
What this does.
Gentlemen, I need a
Second.
second. Thank you,
Second.
Commissioner
Sorry.
P. Discussion?
What this does is whenever there's occurrence, they set a reserve. And the auditors make sure that we set that up as a liability. And if we don't have enough funds to set aside, then the fund ends up being a deficit, and we don't want a fund to be a deficit at the end of the year. So we were providing enough funds to meet our requirements when we looked at this as of the end of April. So this extra check helped quite a bit.
In a little while, when we look at our upcoming budget for the next fiscal year, will we need to adjust our unassigned fund balance there?
We could. But we'll wait. You're talking about for next year, yeah?
For next year.
Because I'll just move forward with what I've got estimated, and we'll do another recheck at the end of April before we go into full commission.
Call the roll, please.
Definitely wasn't.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Employee benefits?
This is to provide funding for health insurance match for the retirees, and this is a request of maybe $27,645 from employee benefits insurance and $4,355 from the unassigned. $32,000 for the other fringe benefits.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Peak, thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Other public health and welfare?
This is a request of $35,500 from unassigned to other contracted services for autopsies.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. And you have a letter attached also, gentlemen.
It's not necessarily the number, but the amounts.
Going up $50.
So, other contracted services, how much of that was for autopsy?
All of it.
All of it?
All over there.
Yes.
Read it, huh?
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes.
I just want to clear my mind again. I'm going to say, the public safety entities, i.e. the sheriff and the police departments in this county and municipalities, have determined that roughly $1,450 an autopsy, whatever that divides out to, that's how many they've requested. That's where it comes from, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A lot of wild people.
Human Resources, Mrs. Stevenson.
Can't choose,
But it's the police department.
I'd like to make a budget amendment to move money from my
Assistance.
my assistance line into my other salaries and wages. If you remember, back earlier in the year, my generalist was accepted a position in Wilson County, and the person that took her position didn't have the experience that she had, so she started at a lower level, but the person who took my assistant's position had more experience than my assistant, so it's just swapping my money from one place to the other.
Motion approved.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Petty. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you. General Sessions Court, Ms. Watkins, good evening.
Good evening. Yes, I would like to make a budget amendment request to transfer $1,000 from our library account to travel.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Schaefer, thank you.
Second the motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Sandlin.
Was there another thing we're going to or something, training?
Well, he's already gone.
He's already gone.
Judge Brandon.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Better switch it over then.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes, thank you.
Tell him to come up next time. before you go.
Information technology.
I can do it.
Okay, let's see.
One of the tech support manager is leaving Rutherford County Employment, and this amendment provides funding to pay out his accumulated leave and related benefits. And they were able to find it within their budget.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner P, thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. From the Sheriff's Department and Jail, Chief Deputy Russell and Sheriff Arnold. Good evening. Mr. Russell, we will begin with the three budget amendments from the general fund.
Yes, ma'am. Number one, we're gonna pull $4,000 out of our communication equipment line item, which is not being used on in the dispatch area. And out of the $399 on the jail side, which is Dr. Rudd's line item, which we get some reimbursement for from time to time. So we're gonna pull that for a total of $10,000. We're gonna put that in the custodial supplies, because we're out of custodial supplies again. We're also gonna move, we're gonna recognize revenue that was contributed for the community vegetable garden. So that came in, and we're gonna put that into the line item that goes into on the jail side.
If you hadn't seen the garden, try by look at it, it's looking awesome.
I don't want to, it probably looks better than mine.
They work a long hours in there.
Security for school events. Do
Oh,
you have that?
Yeah, I've got it. And then, the 54,000, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Then we're gonna, where all the SROs and all the officers go out and do extra duty, we bill the Board of Education for $54,066. And I'm in desperate need of more money in overtime for the jail, so we're putting everything into the jail side and all the related benefits that go with it.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner P, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schaefer, was that correct?
Quick question on the overtime in the jail.
Yes, sir.
We're short people.
Wow.
How many short?
Well, we're not short people, we're short in money for overtime.
So we're short-staffed and we're having to pay out overtime. Well, also you got that 15 minutes a day that everybody gets and stuff like that too.
It's 15 minutes, comes out to like 200 and some odd $1,000 a year. I forget, 250, I forget, we call it. For the 15 minutes for roll call, there's barely enough money for that every year. And then now with some of the added duties that they have taken on, it's cost us more in overtime for them to do it. So, but it's actually saving money in the long run. Runs to Knoxville and Memphis, they're costing more, and we're having to do a lot more of them. Emergency committals.
Any further discussion or questions for the sheriff or Mr. Russell? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yeah.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Mr. Russell, there are two special purpose or DEA fund budget amendments. We'll take those as one vote.
Okay. We're gonna do a transfer inside the special purpose account from repair and maintenance of buildings and put that into the other equipment to finish up a purchase for a horse trailer for mountain patrol. And then on the under the drug control account, we're gonna move 12,000 of just the salary side to overtime for the North Division. And that's it.
Wait a minute.
Oh, no, the DEA, your,
The revenue.
the revenue.
Oh,
the
revenue
D-
side,
uh-huh.
okay, I'm sorry. Come back up here. Okay, so we received a grand total of $11,142.60, and we're gonna put that into the training budget for the DEA fund.
Okay, so gentlemen, this motion needs to include the $5,000 for the horse trailer and then this revenue for the DEA fund.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Fee.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jervis.
You said that finishes up the horse trailer, so the horse trailer's more than 5,000, they're just
Yes, sir. Yes.
putting money together.
They just gotta put all the money together so I can finish up and do the pre-O.
We got a horse trailer now, we need a second one, or we're
No,
just
no, no, no,
upgrading?
no,
or-
We're
It's just to pay
upgrading
for it.
and the one we got's very old.
Oh, the
rusty, it's
bottom
made out of
about
steel,
fell out of it.
so
Yeah.
we're upgrading, getting a little bit bigger horse trailer. It's all paid out of the drug fund, so
Right.
we're not asking for it from taxpayer dollars.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Mr. Russell, now this is the drug control fund
Okay.
budget amendment.
And then out of that, of course, we're gonna move, from salaries into overtime, $12,000.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Baum. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Okay, next we have the interlocal agreement with the city of Murfreesboro for sharing in the 2012 Burn Justice Assistant JAG Grant Program.
Let
Mr.
Mr. Philip
Martin.
Martin come on up here. I'm gonna help him just a little bit here. This interlocal agreement is supposed to be submitted to the proper authorities, I guess the Justice Department, whoever, by May the 14th. Now, Mr. Martin didn't get this information to him from the city of Murfreesboro until May the 3rd or thereabouts, so assuming and I thought we'd already approved it, so I've signed it. It hasn't been sent to anybody or otherwise, but I told Mr. Martin that I was not going to send this forward until at least the Budget Committee approved the execution of this agreement. So he can tell you what it's all about. We get one of these every year. We share these funds with the city of Murfreesboro, and you can tell them what it's for.
That's correct. This year, we're maintaining what we've done in the past. We're gonna focus on equipment. This year, with our upgraded communications, we're also looking to upgrade and kind of match the handsets we have to the radio system we currently have. We've been testing some additional handsets out in the patrol field area. We're looking to add some additional functionality into it, and that's pretty much what we're gonna do. Our share of the money is $31,000. It's also what the city gets, $31,313. It's the same grant. There's no match on it, straight money through, we're reimbursed.
Who does it this year, us or them?
City's always done it.
I thought we rotated on that one.
No, not on the JAG, not on this particular one. I did the large JAG with $500,000, but Hiram Lester has always done it in the past, and Mr. Kyle Evans has taken over and done a really good job for us, so we just tried to keep the same system we've got working already. City Council's already approved that they're good to go. Falls in our court.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Sandlin, thank you. Seconded by Commissioner P.
And the second is for them to send it on and report to the county commission next week that it's been sent on.
Yeah, that would be the
Okay.
appropriate measure to take.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. One question. Will you spend it this fiscal year? Or will it go into this?
It will more than likely go in the next fiscal year.
Okay.
We'll have to make the revenue adjustment once.
Well, if we know now, and you can tell me what line item, then we can go ahead and put it in the budget.
Can you
That's
make
one
it
less thing
normal?
we have to do.
Are you made normal?
Okay.
We'll be ready for it.
Help me remember to add that.
Is that all you have?
That's
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Gentlemen, section 4 in your notebooks. We have solid waste sanitation fund budget amendments. Mr. Nolan. Mr. Nolan, you have 3 amendments to present to us.
I do too.
Yeah,
Well,
you
you
didn't know
don't know about that third one either, do
No.
you? Surprise,
We're gonna have
surprise.
some more of that.
Okay. If you will present your 2, then we'll tell you about the third one.
Okay. We need more diesel fuel money for the garbage truck, so we want to pull $70,000 out of site development line item, put it into diesel fuel. That should make it through the rest of the year, we hope. And then we need a little more money in the tire budget for the trucks as well, so we want to pull $6,000 from the
solid waste equipment line item put into tires and boots.
And then he also has $10,000 request to transfer to the self-insurance fund for payment of liability claims.
Same as before. Motion to approve all three.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion or questions for Mr. Nolan? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you. Gentlemen, section 5 in your notebooks, a highway fund budget amendment.
It also relates to judgments, and this is a request to fund $187,096 with money coming from their building and contents insurance, their liability insurance, and crushed stone.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sanders. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Gentlemen, section 9 in your notebooks. A grant contract with the Tennessee Division of Elections.
This is a grant that we've received before. If you flip to the back, it's for the leasing of 146 microvote Infinity machines of $141,474, and this is for next year's budget.
If we don't pass it, that means we're gonna have to pay to have enough loading machines, right? Yeah, that's what I think the money.
If they're paying for them. For us.
Tell us what kind of use the other people. Motion to approve.
Second.
Jordan, seconded by, Schaefer, thank you. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Gentlemen, staying in that section, we have a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Military Emergency Management Agency. Mr. Corbett?
This, if you remember back in May of 2010, we had quite a bit of flooding around here. And after cleaning up some of it, we submitted several grant requests through TEMA for some assistance. This grant was submitted by the EMA office. I'm bringing it forward because our office is managing the project and doing the work. It's for a total of, that front page doesn't, if you have copy, is not the total is actually behind page 12. The total for the grant is $537,876. There's a matching portion of 25%. In most states, the local community picks up the total 25. In Tennessee, they pick up half, and the community picks up 12.5. So our portion is $67,234.50. The grant has been awarded to us. The money will be in the next fiscal year, because we have to get these, there's 3 homes involved, we have to get them appraised. Once there's an agreement with the homeowner and upon the appraisal, then we have to, in addition to some of the other stuff, we have to get them checked for lead-based paint and asbestos, which will take some time. So it'll put us into our next fiscal year to do this. So basically, what we're getting is, for a grant of $537,000, we pay 12.5% of it. What'll happen is the 3 homes will be torn down, similar to the, if you remember what we did in Greenwood and Twin Oaks, and then the property will belong to the county. We can't build on it. nobody else can put a structure on it. We usually will just bush hog those things twice a year. And the location, one of them is on Florence Road, one's in Deerfield, which is over behind Sam's, and one's on off of Woodbury Highway.
When you say structure, could you put something like a ball field on these properties?
You could put a ball field, you can't put a.
Something that's occupied, you couldn't put on.
That's correct. Like we
Like
tried.
a stadium or something like that, we
No.
could.
We tried on one of our, we bought some off of Midland Fosterville, and we were approached about putting a fire training facility down there. And we went back to TEMA, and that was shot down. We weren't allowed to do it, even though it's just a, you know,
Box. Yeah.
concrete
Concrete
structure
box,
where
yeah.
they go in and rescue people and stuff like that.
But something like a football stadium or ball field could go there.
Not a stadium.
Not the stadium.
Probably, but.
You could have the field, but.
Practice
Field.
field or, you know, just.
I keep hearing there's a school wanting a stadium, that's why I was asking.
These are just small residential lots.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was thinking you had some group together here.
No, these are
There's three
very
individual homes.
separate.
So 67,000, is that in kind?
We can go up to $12,000 in kind. We're going to plan to use our public works crew to tear down the structures, take it to the landfill. That will be most of our, the time that our office puts in on that, will also be listed in there as in kind.
Well, that comes down through on Woodbury Pike, Robert, you ain't gonna use it much anyway. Water comes through there.
Gentlemen, if you'll refer to the sheet right in front of this, our finance director has included this with the development tax request.
And as I alluded to when we end the meeting, as of today, our revenue in the general fund for the development tax is $700,000. A summary of what all we've done. And so I was going to recommend transferring $67,235 into the capital projects fund to provide our match.
You just
And
said
at
a
the end-
portion of this could be
Well,
in kind.
I didn't realize that at the end.
That's-
Well, at
that's
the
a
end,
max.
we would
That's-
transfer
Yeah.
it back.
And so, there's a chance it'll be less, and it'll have to do, taking out the in-kind, it also have to do with the appraisals on the properties and stuff, but these are the max numbers of the grant and the match.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Are
thank you,
these-
seconded by Commissioner Sandlin.
Are we approving the grant? Are we approving
And
this
that is-
transfer too?
And that way, it'll be there, and as you said, after.
The match
after-
coming from the development tax, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we
After
don't-
all is said and done, yes, then.
Yeah, but
He
we
was
don't know
able
how
to
much it's
use-
gonna be, and we don't have to pay this money tomorrow.
No.
No,
I mean-
we're just
She was-
putting
she
it
was-
over there.
She'll budget it for next year.
Well, no,
Right.
I'm recommending going ahead and moving it over
Even
now to the capital
But
project.
this 67 could be 55 or something like that.
But it will be, just like in all the other ones, maintained in that project, and then after it's all said and
And we'll
done,
bring
we
it back.
transfer it back and put it back in.
We'll put it back in development tax?
In
or go back
development
general
tax.
fund?
It goes
Back
into,
in here.
Okay.
into here.
I got two questions in line with this. If this grant didn't come through, what would happen to these three properties?
Well, in each case, two of the cases, we've done extensive studies and tried to alleviate the water problem. In both cases, it's a situation where the house was built many years ago, before we actually did some permitting. They're in a kind of a bowl, and there's really no way to get the water out of there. Well, probably about spending close to $1 million. The third one is a situation where the individual built the house, it's below floodplain level, about 7 or 8 feet. We had an audit by FEMA a couple of years ago. This house was picked, and the county has to do something about the house, or it puts our flood insurance program at jeopardy. So this is our solution to handle that particular problem.
Well, some of these are in a city, right?
Well, yeah, well, no,
Florence
they're all
Road.
in county.
No, they're all in the county.
Deerfield.
That's still in the county. Well, unless they've been.
Depends on the lawsuit.
It's in the
Deerfield's
lawsuit.
in the middle of the
Oh,
lawsuit.
okay. And on Florence Road, it's not in.
Right now, it's still in the county.
Okay.
Can we wait till they settle their lawsuit?
Florence Road.
Then they're not
The other,
also-
my other question is there more of these houses like this that may be around from the flood a couple of years ago?
We have To qualify for this program, you have to show a history of flooding incidents. Now, the flood in the May of 2010 was much more than a 100-year flood situation. And the 100-year flood thing is what our flood program tends to. So there were other houses flooding, but they did not have they don't show a history of repetitive type stuff. So, and again, these were the only 3 homeowners. You know, we put out, emergency management put out a request for any homeowners interested. These are the only 3 that came forward with the evidence, and they had to have receipts, and they had to have pictures, and they had to prove the history to qualify for the program.
There's one there, if something not done about that one, won't nobody be able to get flood insurance from Rutherford County with.
Right, that's the one that's on Florence Road. That's the one that's 7 feet below the flood elevation.
That's the last one under the FEMA audit
Yeah.
that we have to take care of.
The rest
We've
of
already
them-
remediated all the other ones, so that's the last one we hope.
Now, that came through, and when was it, Will, they changed the FEMA map, the flood map?
The last one was 2007.
Those were wholesale changes in some spots too.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
whole subdivisions that weren't in the floodplain before that were now in the new maps.
All these folks had regulations and things.
So
But these were these,
these was before that. One was built in the 70s, the other 2 were, I think, before 84 when the county actually opted to join the program to 84, but we didn't do the inspections to 88.
when that was done, were these 3 particular houses in the flood zones?
Just the one. The other 2 were not. They're in a subdivision, and all their problems are basically because they built the house at the bottom of kind of a bowl, and everything drains toward it when nothing drained out.
And you say that one was in a subdivision or was not?
Florence Road, that's not in subdivision, that's,
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Do we need further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes, thank you. Gentlemen, next we have a contract with Regional Transportation Authority.
And this is the, we have this contract each year, and this is for the Relax and Ride bus services that travel all the way from MTSU to Smyrna, Laverne, Murfreesboro. You can see on that, sort of that 3rd page there, that we're all participating in this at a level of $19,555 for all of the municipalities in Rutherford County. Davidson County is at $41,904. So this is what have been providing for years now for a substantial number of trips, and you can see up there how many trips and riders, and we're estimating 140,000 riders per year on that thing. So it's quite a good service, and many, many people are taking advantage of it.
I just had to stop while they unloaded one on Broad Street at Northfield, and it used to be there'd be 2 people get off or something. They were 25 or 30 got off at one bus at one stop right there.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Saving gas, saving time every second.
But what is the difference between combined in Rutherford County? We got right at 100,000, and all of Davidson is only 41. What's
This, I don't know, I
Is
can't
that,
answer that.
this route?
See, it goes from here into Davidson County, I mean, but it's our people riding the bus into Davidson County. It's a complicated federal revenue sharing process, and all of that feeds together. And I'd have to get some other folks to help us. Dana Richardson could help explain the detail a bit more, but this is the same process we have been using.
We just looks out of proportion somehow, or
But I mean, see, it's our riders, but it's some of their riders coming here too, but it's primarily to benefit Rutherford County riders.
Rutherford County's got more benefit, more people riding.
TDOT participates in this, they're subsidizing that.
I'm not saying it's not a good thing, it just surprised me the amount of participation there, monetary wise.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Gentlemen, we have an agreement with Appertain Corporation, South Central Tennessee Development District for the dead stop removal.
This is the same agreement we've had now. This will be the third year, I believe. It's the same amount, $33,007 to pick up our animals that are deposited by our farmers, and even here can be picked up as well.
Motion to approve.
Second.
The second by Commissioner Jordan. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum.
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan.
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan.
Yes.
Commissioner P.
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Gentlemen, section 6 in your notebooks. Mr. Sandy, Mr. Gill, Mr. Clardy, and you may even have someone else that you'll bring up to the table at the appropriate time. The first item to present to our committee is the energy efficient water upgrade proposal for your schools.
Let me give you a bit of a history lesson first. We've, over the course of the last 9 years, done much for conserving energy. As you recall, we started about 9 years ago with geothermal heating and cooling in school. We also, Mr. Clardy and I worked real hard to build a smaller building envelope, reducing the height of the ceilings, doing everything we could to conserve energy. We put in retrofitted the lights, we put in light sensors. We're also now, everywhere available, use repurified water for irrigation. Anytime we do upgrades to a school, we use heating and cooling upgrades, energy efficient window projects, and also change the white roofing membrane to reduce solar gain. So we've kind of been all about that. And the next appropriate measure would be to have energy efficient water upgrades in school. And we spent considerable time analyzing the schools over the last few months. And we should have a packet in front of you. You see this show, energy efficient water upgrades in Rutherford County. If you look at the second page where it says executive summary, it kind of reflects specifically it summarizes what we want to do. That's followed by the guarantee. And Excel's proposing a district-wide energy-efficient water project designed to generate real dollar savings exceeding the district's payment for the project. This paid for savings project is guaranteed to have zero financial risk to the district. Excel Energy Group Incorporated conducted an audit of the Rutherford County schools in conjunction with our maintenance department facilities for the purpose of identifying outdated, inefficient, and deteriorated water systems and technology. The audit and subsequent evaluation has led us to recommend and propose the following energy-saving upgrades to the district's facilities. Water control upgrades. The addition of approximately 4,136 water control units. Our program provides the district with the best technology in the country and generates a direct reduction in water, sewer, gas, and electric bills. This project is expected to conservatively generate annual savings of $223,533 at a net project cost of $1,461,013 and yields a payback in 6.5 years. Standardization controls. The project will standardize the water sewer products in use across the district facilities, thereby eliminating the need to stock many different products.
Harry, is that two different projects, or is that the same project that's talking about there?
It's the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Total package financing. Excel will arrange finance for the district of 3.9 over 7 years with semi-annual payments of $120,259, $240,517 annually. The project provides 92% of the necessary cash flow over the life of the project. And in the guaranteed savings, Excel guarantees this project will generate enough savings to make 92% of the district's payment for the project. In addition to the operation and maintenance savings, the majority of the district savings will be generated from lower water, sewer, gas, and electric bills. The savings generated by installing low-flow water fixtures and flow restrictors shall be based upon one-time pre- and post-sample measurements of 5% of each fixture or retrofit type. Baseline fixture frequency, typical usage, and occupancy information used to determine savings are given in Exhibit A of the proposal. And Mr. Clardy also went back and did some additional checking to ensure that these figures lined up. And at the very bottom of the sheet, talks about the total project, and as I said, it's $1,461,013. The utility savings will be $203,828 annually. Maintenance savings should be $19,706 for a total saving each year of $223,534. The annual payments, based on this 3.9% 7-year loan of $240,000, which means the cash flow is negative $16,983 per year. Payback should be at 6.5 years. And the next sheet.
How long will this, it pays itself back in 6.5 years? How many years are they saying this will be viable? I mean, the life of the school or what?
We have fixtures now in some of the schools that are in good operating order that are 25 years old. So these are top of the line fixtures. They're pretty standard on all of our projects, our newer projects. So I would expect, 3 times the life of payback on them.
Well, they're saying water control units, so you're basically saying what they're talking about are fixtures.
Well, there's fixtures, some of them are flow constrictors that cut down on the amount of water that can actually come out, and then where faucets are needed and those types of things, they'll replace those also.
Might come in handy at a jail too.
Flow constrictors, how long should they last in a school? I mean, they've got to be replaced.
Well, they do. I would expect when they lose up to 25% of their efficiency, they should be replaced. Or the neoprene will cut out after so much pressure goes through it. I would say 5 years. I know they work because when I used to travel all the time, I kept a pair of vice grips in my suitcase so I could take them out of the hotel where I was staying and get a shower.
But to
So-
change them, all you
on.
have to do is change the grommet. You don't have to change the whole fixture again.
Well, some of them you don't.
Depends where they are too, doesn't it?
Yeah,
How
it does.
accessible they are.
If some of the faucets will be able to be changed, where they'll just put the restrictor on them. Some of them will have to change the whole faucet because.
No,
they're not good.
but I mean, in the future though, say 5 or 6 years down the road, when the neoprene is taking so much pressure and it's starting to wear, then that will be a simple change of the small part in there.
Right, it'll be
You won't do a
right.
major replumbing work, just swap the
Just have to
piece
screw
out.
them out,
Screw it in and
change it out,
keep on
screw
going.
it back on, yes.
Have you considered whether it would be cost-effective to replace the water fixtures like the sinks and the toilets as they wear out, as our current ones wear out, rather than replacing them all right now, all at once, even if they're still working?
Well, the study that we did encompassed over 6,100 fixtures. We're only replacing 4,100. So there's 2,000 fixtures that we deemed not cost effective. In other words, why spend $2,000 to change a commode when you're only going to make $200 on it or something? So we've examined all of those, taken a good look at them, and we're replacing the ones that we can save the most water on. It's a matter of saving money, and we just think that now would be a good time to do it.
The company that would be doing the work is Exelon Energy. Excel Energy.
They also did our lighting retrofitting and also our sensors, and we've gotten incredible service out of them, that they've done everything they said they would.
They'd be doing the replacements.
Yes.
They're also making these claims about the cost savings. What did we do to verify that we would experience these cost savings.
You talking about these savings?
Yeah, the numbers that they're giving us, what did we do
They
to?
actually flushed every toilet in Rutherford County and used some kind of, what kind of meter do you use?
Flow meter.
Yeah, flow meter, and checked every faucet in the county, and that's how they were able to ascertain the exact savings, and that's why it's pretty impressive. They'll tie 92% guaranteed savings to the project. So they know, and we felt real comfortable that we would
We
experience the
spent
savings.
several days, few weeks with some of the maintenance personnel going around and checking every single fixture and everything was good. So we're confident that if you got a commode that's flushing and it's using 4 gallons of water, and you put a commode in that flushes at 1.6 gallons of water, you're gonna save 2.4 gallons of water every flush. So, you know, we've given it quite a bit of thought.
Can we play the devil's advocate for a minute? Okay, number one, commodes, I'd say, some of the things that are in them get put in them in middle schools or high schools, let's look at it that way. Is one flush gonna do it?
I'm not gonna go do it.
But I'm saying.
Well, I've got a question for Mr. Clardy.
I got my other part.
Oh, I didn't.
Okay, you know, I think you're gonna see them flushed a lot more, but anyhow. Back to the lighting that you mentioned a minute ago. Do we have any empirical data from that we've done, that we've seen the amount of electricity kilowatts that a school was using before we put the lights in versus after? I know I've been in them and I can see that it's much better lighting, so it's got to be better for education, but.
We talked about it. We know that there's been substantial savings. There are a lot of variables with respect to comparing specifically how much was saved, you know, and we could try to put something together, but it would be a monster to do. But we did see dramatic reductions in our utilities.
It's very difficult to analyze that, because for one thing, the price of electricity is
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
no, I'm talking, kilowatts a kilowatt though, isn't it? They haven't changed how they measure that.
But
It's-
here's the other thing about that, Mr. Schaefer, is that we've had some very hot years here. So at peak demand for the month that we're being billed is what our entire rate is based on. So if we have 305-degree days, and you really have to crank the air conditioning to keep the students cool enough to keep them in school, then the peak demand on that shoots way up, and then you're charged all month for that. So there's just so many different factors that it's hard to get a handle on. Now, Mr. Sandvik's done some looking, and he has some information.
I looked at the 2010-11 fiscal year and compared that to 2004-2005, year before we did this project. And we have had a lot of changes in our schools since then. We have done 7 additions, 5 at high schools, 2 at elementary schools. We have built 7 schools. So, in particular, Blackman Elementary, Barfield Elementary, the main meters at Oakland and Riverdale, yeah, there was a noticeable drop in looking over the course of a year, before and after. As you got into some of our additions, most of our additions wound up on the same main meter. So you've got things blended in there. But I'm confident we have seen savings of kilowatt drops before and after at some of those schools were noticeable. When you throw all the other variables in, looking at all the other, the file that we have after I dropped it down to those 2 years still had nearly 900 lines of information. And one of the things I did not track, because I did not have my folks track, is any way of recording the demand charges. I just have kilowatt hours and dollars. So.
I think that's about the only one you could even come up with anything with
Yeah.
on that with
Mhm.
changes that TVA's done and all that
Right.
too.
Commissioner Jordan?
I had a question, Mr. Clardy. It's one thing to change out light fixtures, and the wiring is, usually pretty basic to undo a wire and put the wire back in for another light fixture. But when you get to plumbing on a 30, 40-year-old building and you pull a fixture out of the wall that's been there for all these years, you're gonna find a lot of unexpected problems, more than likely cracked pipes, busted flanges, things like that. Who's gonna take care of that? Is Mr. Caroon's bunch gonna fix that? And if so, is that an upcharge? Or is our maintenance guys going to be there to get everything into a suitable spot? Because that could be as much of an expense as the actual replacement itself if these guys are cutting out floors. These are concrete floors, and I'm actually a licensed plumber myself, and you find a lot of stuff when you start taking something all apart that's several years old.
Excel Energy will fix those as they come out. They have made an allowance in their price for those, and there should not be any change orders on this.
We're not gonna look at another $500,000 in
No, sir.
jackhammering, sawing out floors, putting in fittings and everything like that. Yeah, I feel sure y'all expect some of that.
You're definitely gonna see that increase, right?
Yeah, there'll be some of that. I mean, rusted off, commode bolt,
Mhm.
all of that kind of stuff. But we've been through the discussions with Excel, and they're gonna take care of it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be up on a ladder changing that light down the floor down there. The Health and Ed, we forwarded this to the Budget Committee without providing a funding mechanism. What is the Finance Director or the Mayor's recommendation, or is there a recommendation? If we accept Excel Energy's financing, or where we come up with our part of the money?
It says 200,000.
Does the school board have a recommendation?
Yeah, we recommend that we go along with 3.9 financing that, has been discussed. And we don't have it in fund balance, we're obviously anticipating using fund balance this year's budget. Also, we've pledged to use fund balance to open Siegel High School. By using
Siegel's already
money
open.
this way, it's my understanding through Jeff, that we don't have to share anything with the city either.
And you're right, that was the other avenue that I explored to see if it would be cheaper if we obtained our own financing. Because this includes all schools, including the K-6 schools, we would have to share, and Jeff had computed that at $135,000.
Right.
That we'd have to borrow on top of this amount to share with the cities, and then speaking with our financial advisors, that would wipe out any savings that we could have gotten at a lower interest rate with the bank.
Even
And-
though we would be paying it back with shared funds.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
So if you have a note, we get a capital outlay note, we have to share those, but capital leases, we don't.
I mean, I think that's a reasonable approach. I'd like to respectfully ask Mr. Sandgate, he's got a budget for utilities every year to do.
Right.
I'd like to hope that you would take that budget that you're proposing for next year and reduce that.
I have-
Utilities by $223,000 and increase your budget by $240 to make the payments on this.
Well,
And
I just put a half year in.
Okay, so it's about I'm saying it's sort of a net zero.
Right.
As long as you don't inflate our.
All we've got to come up with
utility costs.
$16,000.
That's right.
We can come up
If we
with
can make that happen.
16,000.
No, that's all we've got to
It's
come
a
up with 16. Now, the rest is on you.
situation. Okay, well, But don't leave the $223,000
No.
in the utility cost.
I-
Reduce us by $223.
I have already adjusted that.
Okay, we're gonna take your word.
Oh, awesome. 3.7, not 3.9.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they've gone down to 3.7?
Yeah, the rate.
We haven't got a motion
This
on
week,
that.
was- I'm sorry, I lost my.
We don't have one yet.
It's 3.7.
I'm not ready to
And that
make one
3.9
yet,
is the
no.
worst case scenario, so the exposure's a little bit less.
We'd like 3.5.
You ready for a motion?
Yes.
I move approve.
I'll second it, and two, I want to say, I can't tell you how much I appreciate what y'all are doing for these type of endeavors. I mean, that's, the utility cost for these buildings is astronomical, and anything we can do to keep those down. I mean, it's hard to trace it, I'll grant you that, but, you know, where we've done these lights, and, you know, we've got better lighting, and, you know, we've got less kilowatts being used. I mean, that's the name of the game. It's not just there, I mean, you named several of them out there, but, that's, I just wanted to say thank y'all for being very inventive in doing this type of thing.
That's what I want to say. It goes to show you how hard the school system over there working to try to save money, and I think the people that they got running these departments and all, like Mr. Clardy and them, doing an outstanding job on this kind of stuff. So I appreciate them looking for items like this, save money myself by being in. Was in a job I was for 30 years maintenance. I had no idea.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Is Stewart's Creek High School having these low flow commitments put in?
Yes, they are. And all of the new schools have, as a matter of fact, if you look through the, some of the fixture schedules, you'll notice that the newer schools are not getting any.
Just to answer a question we had.
Please answer, son.
You got on your sheet here, what time it is, I can't tell, but anyway, a person uses the restroom every X hours. Most of them are running around 5, and you got some up around 8. Is that because of the number of students, or the number of bathrooms, or what's going on? How did y'all
We
calculate that?
took the actual water usage at the school and adjusted those numbers from average so that we can have a more accurate picture of actually how much water is being metered at the school.
Okay. It just seemed such a range in there.
Yeah,
Kind
and
of
it
caught me
is,
by
and
surprise.
Some of the, we looked at every actual water bill over a year, and then if it didn't work with the average and the student load and all of those kinds of things, then we adjusted it to get a more accurate picture.
Yeah, well, it's obvious, I mean, from looking through them, that the older schools are the ones that are costing us the most money, so getting the pictures on is sufficient, so.
You're wanting to start this project then during the summer break, is that what you're wanting?
Yeah, it'll take them about 3 months to do it. They want to get on it as soon as summer
Do
comes.
the whole thing this
They'll bring in
summer.
a crew from anywhere from 30 to 40. They'll work many hours in the course of the day. And if we start school back when they're ready to, or if we're not finished, they'll work nights so they don't interrupt construction.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Eagle?
Mr. Sandvik, your Fund 177, the Education Capital Projects Fund
All right.
budget amendment.
This amendment totals $181,586. It reduces the fund balance, now called Committed for Capital Projects, by $165,485 in order to fund most of the $180,086 in remaining expenditures for the 2010-11 projects that had open purchases at the end of the 2011 fiscal year. In this fund, we have to liquidate those purchase orders and rebudget them. We have $16,101 in additional 11-12 property tax revenues to balance the amendment and to cover an additional $1,500 in trustees' commission. This amendment also reallocates $13,266 in current year equipment for the McFadden renovation and $1,940 in current year engineering services for the Kittrell Water Treatment Project. Our recommended motion is to amend $165,485 from the account committed for capital projects and $16,101 in additional 2011-12 property tax revenues in order to fund $180,086 in remaining 2010-11 projects, $1,500 in additional trustees' commission, and to amend $15,206 in current year projects as presented.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second the motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Sanders. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Sandy,
All right.
your central cafeteria budget amendment?
This amendment adds a net $2,329,546 in revenue to the budget and an additional $2,177,423 in expenditures. The largest change is an accounting change. We are to now record USDA commodity revenue and an offsetting expenditure. In the past, we just reported that commodity number to the state in a different way. They now are having all centralized systems do this entry. Revenue in, expenditure out. No net effect. The other increases and decreases adjust the budget for changes in the reimbursement amounts, the federal reimbursement amounts, which we normally don't have by the time we adopt our budget, and different items that have come up in the operating costs of the cafeterias. The recommended motion is to amend the 2011-12 Fund 143 budget by $2,329,546 in net revenues and $2,177,423 in expenditures as presented.
So moved.
Commissioner Salmon, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Sandy, your general purpose school fund budget amendments?
The first one is for coordinated school health. This amendment reallocates $29,717 within the state-funded coordinated school health grant. We made staffing changes this year, which freed up funds for materials, supplies, and equipment for the program. No new funds or positions are included in the amendment. Our recommended motion is to amend $29,717 in expenditures within the state-funded coordinated school health grant as presented.
And the retirement
The
motion?
The retirement motion is a year-end cleanup amendment. It reallocates $28,780 within already budgeted state retirement to the major functions where it's needed. No new funds or positions are included in this amendment. The recommended motion is to amend $28,780 in already budgeted state retirement as presented.
Motion to approve both.
Commissioner Salmon, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Gentlemen, do you have anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We look forward to a fun-filled budget, your last budget.
Yeah, that'll be the last shot you get.
Just gonna put $10 million in overtime.
His pocket.
Consulting fee.
Gentlemen, we're ready for our 2012-2013 budget overview. Would you like to take just a few minutes break as we change our notebooks out?
Let's take a break.
A short 5-minute break, gentlemen, and then we'll resume. I think we are all back in our places, so, and you have your new budget notebooks for this new budget cycle.
Christmas come early.
Well, they asked if they wanted to put this on the iPad, and I thought, oh, don't want to give away writing on paper yet.
Okay, so if you will open your notebooks, our finance director will begin.
Okay, I'll start with the estimated current property taxes based on the assessments that we've received from the assessor. With 5.9 billion in assessed value and 170 million in public utility property, provides, after we have our reserve for delinquency for the county, 133,781,681. And we talk about how much does a penny earn? The budget's based on a penny earning 584,909. When you start talking about additional pennies, that jump to the left, additional general fund penny is worth 583,104. A school penny additional is 495,755. Next page.
And how does that compare to last year? Do you remember? I shouldn't ask that question. Go ahead.
It's about $1
Sorry.
million more.
No, I'm talking about the penny.
The penny, I didn't tell you real quick. You remember that?
That's what I basically revenue.
I can take real quick, we had it in
I
there.
shouldn't have. Sorry.
That's all right, I mean, I should, I'm sure Laura's got it right on her head.
There you go.
Yeah, additional penny was 575,281, and the school penny was 490.
So we would have about $7,000, okay.
Okay, next page, it talks about the projected revenues, and we project revenues the same that we always do. We project some growth based on the actual growth history of each individual revenue component. The summary for all revenue for all budgets totals $423,304,000. 32% of the budget is based on the current property tax levy. The next, the highest amount of revenue that we get is state revenue, $174,164,000, and that is primarily used to fund schools. Any questions? Just keep going. This next page, you may look at it and say, wondering what I'm doing. This is how we ended when we adopted the budget last year. What I'm getting ready to do is talk about fund balance, that it is not money that we don't talk about. We don't really spend a lot of time because we pretty much have a number and go on. But we do talk about fund balance, and it is a component of our understanding of what we're going to use to fund for the next year. We estimated when we were budgeting last year at $15.2 million. We actually, when we closed our books a month later, our fund balance came in at $16,734,000. So it ended up about $1.5 million higher than what we were anticipating, which was good because over the year, and I'm going to jump you over to this next page that's color-coded. Excluding for what we've done tonight, we've hit our fund balance additionally, the unassigned, by almost 1.2 million. So, all that to say, I'm gonna jump back, we were estimating that we would end at 13 million at the end of this year, but because of unspent revenues, and basically all this additional that we got in, we've spent through these appropriations out of fund balance throughout the year. So we've kind of eaten up that additional that we gained. So I'm estimating again that we will have between unspent appropriations and additional revenue to get us back up to that 15.2 million, beginning us into next year. So this is kind of a history of what all we've done, and we've done quite a bit. those items that are color-coded were items that we have taken out of restricted fund balances, not the unassigned. That second page then summarizes all those out of the restricted and committed. We've dropped that almost $2.5 million this year. Okay, so we come to the general fund. Next page, starting in next year. At the mayor's recommendation, total revenue of $72,370,000 with expenditures of $76,029,000. Again, our revenues are below our appropriations of almost $3.7 million. Beginning with our $15.2 million estimated fund balance, that drops us down to $11,540,000. That will have us at 15.2% of the appropriations. This next page kind of gives you some highlights of the general fund appropriations. I'm giving you sort of two columns here. These are original budget amounts that we start with. On the left side on 6/30/12, these are original, not what we've amended, because I was trying to give you some comparisons of what we had originally started in last year and original this for the next fiscal year. I took out some things that are not necessarily that will not be in next year's budget. Remember, we did put $800,000 in the original budget for the fire station. I've taken out the Homeland Security grant and the home grant to give you a base comparison that our appropriations, excluding those items, are $3.8 million higher than the original budget of last year, or the year we're in. $2.6 million is a difference between the 100 and 200 accounts, which are all the salary and benefits. The pay plan that you'll hear more about adds about $1.6 million. Part-time, overtime, longevity adds $200,875 for benefits. And then to the right, I've given you the difference of which benefits have increased. The 300 numbers are contracted services. They've increased almost $900,000 over the prior year, which $153,600 includes data processing. There's an additional $441,300 medical for jail, and then the $100,000 for the Motlow contribution. The 400 supplies and materials, we've increased that $605,000, with almost $209,000 being for increases in gas and diesel, $50,000 for utilities, and $221,000 for food supplies at the jail. The 500 accounts are other charges, and we've increased that $387,545. $300,000 of that is judgments. We have probably for the last 3 or 4 years have come to the end of the year and have added more than what we've initially budgeted. So I'm going ahead and put that in there. So $300,000 for that, and about $67,000 for trustees commission. The 700 accounts is the capital, and we've reduced that by $735,000. The difference in that, in the original, is about $400,000 for the sheriff's vehicles, $148,000 for GIS, and $200,000 for the rural fire department, if there was a vehicle.
Going up real quickly back in salary and benefits, is that 1.6, Mayor, is that what we talked about in the steering committee?
Yeah. Okay. And you can, Ms. Stevenson will give you more details about that after she gets through sort of the overview.
Okay.
Okay. So that's where we are in the general fund. Your next page is touching on the capital development tax. I'm estimating that we're starting at $1.6 million. Again, right now, we've estimated next year another $1 million. Half of it for this fund, half of it goes for the debt service. And I'm estimating to use the $500,000 that would be coming into the into the general fund, $200 for the GIS flyover, $100 for Motlow, and $200 for OIT data processing.
Is that the last part of our GIS?
No,
Or is that one of?
It's one of an ongoing strategy. Every
Okay.
other year, we do something a little bit
Well,
different, but we're flying every year. Some one year's more limited than the next year.
Okay.
Motlow, we get what, another year left on that?
It's 100,000 that we did in the
This year.
current year, and then this 100 for next year.
So that's got it.
That's that. Okay. Solid waste and sanitation, estimating beginning fund balance at almost 3.2 million, estimated revenue at 2.7 million, expenditure or appropriations at 3.8 million. So again, in this fund, the appropriations are over the revenue by 1.1 million, and that would drop that fund balance down to 2 million. 2,044,000. The ambulance fund, their revenue, as Mr. Nolling spoke to earlier, we've increased based on their billings. Revenue is $11,352,694 with appropriations of $10,637,880. In this fund, the revenues do exceed appropriations by $714,000. There's 8.29 cents property tax that goes to this fund. So in this particular one, it would increase this fund balance. Let me stop here and say that when we estimated the property tax, we spread the property tax based on what it is today. As this shows, this is a little bit more revenue than this fund, and it has a healthy fund balance. The mayor may make additional comments or
So we could pull a
suggestions.
penny or two on it.
Yes.
We're sort of reserved that to get a little bit further down the road, but there is some potential there.
Flexibility right there, maybe.
Right there. Okay. Now, the Industrial Economic Development Fund, this is the one that for years we had interest coming in from Wary Housing. If you remember, they paid up. And so that's where you see the revenue. You look at the original budget, what we estimated and what the change was, and that was them paying for that note and the property coming in. So next year, all we have coming into this fund is the interest off the airport authority note. So $24,698 coming in. Expenditures have remained the same, $243,777. This will reduce the assigned fund balance by $219,000, but we will have principal on the airport note that will come in. Estimating our ending fund balance of this is $666,000.
What are we doing 3 years? At this rate.
We'll have to cut those expenditures back or find revenue from some other source. And particularly
There's
since
only
the
two
money we
years.
have in the bank is earning nothing. It's
Yeah.
earning
Right.
0.12% or thereabouts, so.
I know, but
It's coming in.
I hate to just ride it right in the ground. Why not cut the expenditures back now and.
There's three.
We've got commitments out there.
There's
I know.
3 expenses coming out of this fund, and one is to the Economic Development Council. It's about $96,000, and then $105,000 for the Chamber of Commerce Destination Rutherford. And then the other one is a payment to the city of, or the town of Smyrna, based on, do you remember how that works?
It's a percentage of.
Of the council amount, because they forewent the percentage based on Destination Rutherford. So those two amounts really have not changed. So it's those items that you need to find or decide how you want to fund it or where you want to fund it. Under the special purpose, this is the money that comes from the DEA fund. And this is the weird fund that you cannot budget revenue that you don't have. You can only budget, as you've seen, every month that we get revenue. That's when we budget it. So what we would recommend, anything that's left, and we'll firm up again at around June when we're getting ready to go in for our final, that whatever has been unspent at the end of the year, we'll just roll into a balance and appropriation into the next year. That's what I was trying to show. If I were to do it today, it'd be $154,000 that would roll. In the drug control fund, estimating revenue at $440,500. estimating our beginning fund balance at $339,577 with the appropriations at $638,600. Estimating the ending fund balance would be at $141,475. Road and Bridge Fund, estimating, now I've grouped it together, the assigned and committed fund balance estimating the beginning at $5,023,000, revenue at $7.8 million, appropriations at almost $9.4 million, it's $9,378,000, which would drive the assigned and committed together at $3,468,000. On the public works portion, to remind you what we did last year, we added additional property tax to help fund and meet our maintenance of effort in this fund. With the property tax going to public works of $518,000, other charges, which is the $65,000 function, which is the public works, you drive down the fund balance there by $15,945. So I guess I want to tell you that these numbers in the box are included in the assigned and committed fund balances. I just try to give you a snapshot. So there's 1.4 pennies assigned to this fund. In the school fund, and this is just accounting for where they are to date, the revenue is $269,428,000. Expenditure $281,000. Right now, the appropriations are over the revenue by $11,653,000. We're estimating their beginning fund balance at $17 million. With this scenario, that drops their assigned fund balance to $5.3 million. They have to have a 3% fund balance, and that's at $8.4 million, so we're short. To balance the fund, to balance the revenues and appropriations, you would need 23.5 cents, but to fund it to the 3%, you would need over 6 cents. There's currently $1.14.3 in this fund.
How much again?
It's over here in the corner. The school cafeteria fund, estimating the beginning fund balance at $4,150,000, with the Board of Education revenue estimate at $17,733,200 and appropriations $18,033,200. Revenues under appropriations by $300,000. On this fund, we will have to look at it and say it cannot exceed. Instead of a minimum, they have a cannot exceed amount of 25%. And they meet that test. Educational capital projects, we're estimating beginning fund balance at $1,247,000. Revenues at $2,374,702, with expenditures appropriations of $2,380,000. Drop their appropriations down to to their fund balance by $1,241,000.
Before we get too far from the general purpose school fund, what's our resolution there, since they're several million short? Are they?
What all these meetings are gonna be for.
We're looking for cuts. We haven't found the cuts there yet.
No, and they're still, I guess, working on it. And they'll be presenting that May 22nd meeting. They will present their budget to Health and Ed that we'll be attending, and then we'll hear it. And then y'all will address it later. Okay, on the debt service fund, we're estimating a fund balance of $32,751,000. Revenue at $39,064,000, expenditures at $41,652,000. You would need, if you were wanting to balance the revenues to appropriations, you would need 4.4 pennies to balance. However, with our fund balance, we'll drop it down to 30,163,000. That will give us a 72% coverage. That's good. I would not recommend moving any pennies out of here because the next year we're also in the projection to be driving it down. So I would not recommend moving anything out of this fund.
What's our balance in this?
We try to hit, around 65%. And I think it's next year that we're gonna get real close.
We're gonna be required to have about $11.4 million in the general unassigned fund balance to stay at the 15% threshold. This last year, we spent $1.1 million out of that fund over the course of the year. But it looks like here we're going into the year with about $100,000 cushion.
Yes. Yes. If you remember what we did last year, what helped us out last year was, because we delayed the schools, we did take 3 cents out of debt service and moved it into the general fund because we talked about, we didn't want to be so tight going into this year, knowing we were getting ready to go before the rating committees, knowing we were getting ready to borrow over $50 million to fund Stewart's Creek. So we did go in strong. But you're right, we're using it.
The revenues for this fund, though, will come in at the end of the year will be higher because of the half that comes from the development tax, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah, last year we spent 1.2, but we came in $1.5 million stronger. So hopefully, historically, it usually comes in
Comes in a little
stronger.
better than we
A little better,
project.
so.
These projections are conservative projections, we think, she thinks.
I would prefer to go in that way then.
Yeah.
Okay, so in summary, this is your last page. I really hate seeing this number, but we will be using out of all funds, using $20.588 million of fund balances to fund next year's operations. But we still have a problem in the schools because we do, in this proposal, I mean, it's below. So something is, we've got to address the school budget.
Our 11.6 we've got to work on.
Yeah.
We've got to work on not all of it, but some of it.
Yes.
So that's the overview, and Sonny can pick it up because one of the impact is the salary plan.
About $3 million.
So what she's gonna get, and she's already talked to the steering committee about this, the $1.6 million that Lisa mentioned a moment ago is comprised of about, had we done nothing except put our step increases in place that would be done this next year. That was $380,000, so there's about another $1.2 million in new money. And she's gonna tell you what that new money does and how we got there. But it puts us in a position, this building block, I don't even call it number one, it's sort of building block 0, to put us in a foundational place where we can equalize and get the pay of these people consistently placed with respect to their longevity, and then give us an opportunity to actually implement the salary data study that she's done, but none of that data is even in these numbers. Okay, so lead on. And
I've got to run, but I've heard this in steering, and I'm going to be over to her office to ask some more questions, but I've got an open ear on it.
As I thought about this after the steering committee, I was trying to think, because it can be cumbersome, this process, but I call this year, where he said it was probably ground zero, I call it the catch-up year, because I think that kind of encompasses what I'm about to tell you. I gave you my notes just because it's easier for you to follow along that way if you have what I'm trying to say. Last year, and I'm thinking that it was in August of 2011, Commissioner Alan McAdoo came before this committee and requested that those individuals who had not had a step increase, who had been topped out since 2007, 2008, that we honor them with a 1.75% increase. And there was some conversation amongst this committee that, was that really the right thing to do? Did we have the data that supported that request, or to substantiate that request, and have we done anything? Well, we had done salary surveys every year, but we had not implemented due to multiple reasons. One, the economy, and two, it just wasn't the best time for the county monetarily. So the 1.75 was honored to that group, but it was requested that the Human Resources Department conduct a salary survey. After that request, I contacted Doug Buttery, who is with CTAS, and asked him for the salary plans of all the counties, because he does do a lot of the financials. He said that they didn't have a database with that information, but he would be happy to help us in that process. The combined efforts ended up coming from UT and from MTSU. Dr. Mark Singer helped us find a student who was a graduate student, and in coordination with UT, John Walden from UT, we found an intern, and his name was Michael Walker. We then looked at several different things to find out how we were going to find our pool that we were going to look at. We knew that we wanted to look at counties that had like-sized revenues and had like-sized population, because the services would be similar. We also knew that we wanted to look at the municipalities in those cities that we compare, because that is one of the things that we heard routinely was, and we know we can't compare completely with the municipality, but it is important to include their data. So we completed the survey, sent out the information, and as the results came back in January, we compiled the data. After the results were combined, we used 3 counties and the cities that were part of those that, as I mentioned, were comparable in size and revenue for our analysis. And we wanted to make sure that we had a reasonable and a comparative sample, something that, we could measure. The counties in this survey, we weighed twice as heavy because we are a county entity and don't have the tax revenues that the cities do. And we rated the cities once. The groupings that we used were Montgomery, Sumner, and Williamson County, and the municipalities were the city of Franklin and the city of Murfreesboro. The city of Hendersonville and the city of Clarksville chose not to participate in the survey, and so we honored that. There were other entities that participated in the survey, but when we got into compiling the data, the complexity of it, the cost factors involved with it, we decided that this grouping was the one that was the best fit for our county based on the things that I mentioned earlier. With the results, we analyzed all the positions that we currently have. We looked at every position within the county to ensure that we had that position graded at the appropriate level with the data as it is today. In 2005 and 2006, when the salary survey was conducted then, those positions were put in that grade for a reason. We wanted to make sure that the new survey data match it up with what it was then. The other part was we evaluated each employee's work experience, and we evaluated that to make sure that they were in the correct step. 2009, we held step increases. Then in 2010, we caught those back up from 2009. 2011, we caught up 2010. And during that process, for people's promotions, demotions, new people coming in, leaving, we just wanted to make sure that everybody was in their correct step. Also, one of the things we wanted to do, as I've been in this position, I've heard several people say they didn't like the fact that they got a step increase every other year. They wanted to know that they could count on something every year. So we looked at moving our current table from 10 steps to 20 steps and expanding that table over. Currently, the 10 steps are like approximately 3.5% between each step. And so to expand it to 20 steps, we did the 1 3/4, the 1.75 that was approved in 2011.
Well, that's one thing that's been a problem in the past, because when we had a difficult year come up, and it was people's turn for steps, sometimes they would miss out. If you did it that way, I can see that, you know, instead of one half of them missing, everybody would miss, or everybody would still get it, so they keep everybody in line, so I like that.
I think most of the employees will like that better. They'd rather know that they're getting a little something every year as to every other year getting something that.
The other thing about that hurts an employee is that if you're a new employee and you are new to the county in September, you come to the county in September, you measure at June 30th and say, you have to be in your current step 2 years. So that employee is almost 3 years before they get a step.
So that was one of the other things that we looked at, was to go to an annual increase as opposed to the biannual. And then ultimately, our goal in this whole process was to ensure that we were being fair to all the employees, consistent. We wanted to be equitable. But we also wanted to be reasonable in our expectation to be able to afford this. We were very mindful of what it would cost the county and the taxpayers, but we also wanted to be good to the employees who are providing those services and have been here and are doing a really good job. So the recommendations that we proposed for 2012 and 13 was, as I mentioned, to expand the table from 10 steps to 20 steps. And we stratified the current table as it is today. So the table that we're proposing for this year is using the same the same salary information that we currently are in. That Plan V hasn't been implemented yet. To go to the annual increase, to catch up the steps from prior years using an evaluation formula, which I'll explain in a minute, and to move positions to their new pay grade if it was deemed that they were not in the correct grade, that they would be moved, and also to do a max of 5,000 increase annually. As we looked back, or as I looked back on prior pay tables, that was one of the things that I noticed when they did the proposals, that they always did a cap of $5,000 for those individuals, and then you catch them up. So, as the mayor said, if we did nothing this year, other than giving our step increases, which is the current plan that we have today, it would cost us the $372,850. If we implemented the first stage of what I think to be a 3 to 5 year plan, it would cost an additional $1.2 million. It will take several years. It will take next year before we actually get to implement the median salaries that we received due to this salary survey to move us up. So all this plan really does is catch up and to make sure that we've got everybody correctly placed.
When you say catch up, you're saying where there's been inequities
Yes, sir.
and pay movements. So that's got nothing to do with this median that you looked at in the survey?
No, sir. We didn't, our first process, when we did the evaluation, and I put one of these sheets in there, I called this person John Doe, real creative there. I just used a sample position, and I said, if this person came to the county, and I used PAWS, the PAWS department, as an animal care specialist in a pay grade 2, and then they were promoted to an animal control officer, and then they were promoted to an animal control supervisor, we wanted to value. So I put, the first 2 columns are their beginning date of that position and their end date of that position. The next column is the years and months in that position. The next column is the pay grade of that job title, and then the last is the job title, the actual position. And I put some notes in there that if we went on the current table that we have today, where this person would fall out and how this makes it more equitable. Down at the, I guess midways near the bottom, there's a section that says to evaluate. If you notice back at the top, it says the animal control supervisor is a pay grade 5. Currently, that position is at a pay grade 5. This is one of those positions in the information that we got. The position needed to be reevaluated to a pay grade 6. So when we evaluated that person's work history, we evaluated it as if they were going into that pay grade 6 for that purpose. Once we put in to evaluate the 6, it lets us know that any position that that employee's been in, that has been in a pay grade 6 or higher, is rated at 100% of their years of service. Then in pay grade 5, 80%, and then so on until it gets down to, if they were in a pay grade 1, they get 10%. Our reasoning behind this is that we wanted, if somebody had been here 30 years, we wanted to value that 30 years. Although we couldn't value 30 years at different levels at 100%, because that wouldn't be fair and consistent to those people who were already at that skill level when they came in. When we valued those years, it gave us a number, and that number is what tells us what step to put them on the new table. It's not, yes, it is a value of years, but we don't want the table to be associated with the step 1 is 1 year of service. Step 1 is what the valuation says you should be in based on your years of service. And that's what, we did this for every single employee in the county that are full-time. I think it's 1,023 or something. So we looked at them, we've looked at them multiple times, and probably will still have to look at them some, and which was one of my points, that if this is approved, we hope that you'll give us a little bit of wiggle room in the event that I did make a mistake, because I may have, you know, in either not having enough information or not knowing that something occurred. I found out a lot about the ambulance service during this process, some of the things that they had done that, you know, like finance knew, but there was nowhere that was written for me to know until I got into it. One of the other problems is when we were looking at people that had been hired prior to 1992, the local gov, the payroll system that we use, wasn't implemented till 1992. So if you were hired before 1992, there was no data on you in the system. Not that we didn't have it, we just had to go back and pull a file and look at all your, you know, information to see when you were promoted from one step to the other. So in that process, particularly people that were hired prior to that time, it needs to be evaluated by the departments.
The good thing is that we've had people here for a long time.
That know that information too.
That remember.
I mean, not Elaine, I mean, we've got several people in finance that have been here a long time and can remember.
So the other pieces that you have in front of you is, the top page is 2011-12 as it is today. We have 14 grades, 10 steps. The grades, as I mentioned before, are approximately 3.5% between steps. The grades are 12.5% between grades. The next page is the new proposed table. It's 1.75% between steps.
Well, actually, it's just the average of the two.
Average of the two. If you look at, on your first page, pay grade 5 to 22,820, grade 1, step 5, that is the median, and if you turn to your next page, under 5, you see that the same median's there. So we have used that to expand. Those individuals who were topped out and we gave that increase to, those individual salaries would be what the salary is in step 20, because that would be the 1.75% more than. One of the things that we looked at for the future, for years 2 through 5, is what we do for those individuals who are topped out, who the new salary survey didn't provide a higher salary, you know, maybe they're in the right step already. But that was not considered in this particular plan. This particular plan this year was just to catch up, find any inequalities that may have happened somewhere along the way, not purposeful, but just in the way that we did promotions and, or with what experience somebody came in with, those type things, just to catch those up. And that's what we got.
And one thing may evolve as well. We've got 14 grades here, and we probably need some more, and they're proposing to expand that because it's a pretty good jump between one grade to the other, the 12%. So we need the opportunity, step 2 or 3, to allow us to put some more grades in there so we can have some of these positions more properly positioned with respect to what the value of those positions are. But that's not in here at this point at all.
The plan, if we can move forward next year, the plan would then be to implement the new median, and the table would then be expanded from 1 grade to 56 grades. It would still stay at the 20 steps, but it would go to 56 grades. Not that we would have positions in every grade, because in trying to do it equally in between every grade, we would have some grades that didn't have positions. But as the county had a need for special positions that we might have to bring in, we would then have, you know, an empty, we would have a slot somewhere that they would fit within our table, instead of us trying to make a round hole fitness square peg.
Basically, what you're saying is, based on the surveys you've done, the median of all these counties and municipalities, that would be the step 20 of each grade, or?
No, sir, we didn't even implement the median this year. The median, had we used the median on our new data, it would be step 5 of our current plan. Step 5 is your median, and then you work your way backwards and forwards to get it. So we were unable, with the salary data that we got, all we got to do was to look to make sure the person was in the correct pay grade.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm a little bit slow on this, but are you telling me that there's 15 steps past the median?
No, the median would still be 10.
She just said it was
Well,
5.
you're-
Five on the old
Which one?
plan.
Current, on the old plan, the current, the
Current
one we're in
plan, I'm
right
sorry.
now.
But
Current 5 or.
that'd be the median, but that's not necessarily what
The
the
median
pay
will
would be.
move out to
at
10
that,
and put the
what it
20
is right now.
20-step plan.
On
And
the
it'll be the
same
same
median.
medium as we currently have at 5-step 5 now.
you
Is
look at
this the
five-
most
5
expensive
is-
year to get it started, or how bad are we gonna get hammered next year and the year after? Because we've had a pretty good pay plan set up in the past if we had adhered to it, but we couldn't afford it.
Right.
And so,
And that has.
and it says here, it's a process, not a one-time deal. I mean, next year, we could be 30 cents short on a tax rate, and like, well, we can't fund this, sorry, you know, and then we're right back out of whack again. And we can't commit future commissions to do anything, you know, so. I'm wondering, is this, is this the hammer year, or is next year gonna be worse, or the year after? I mean, through projections, I mean.
Well, the year when we place these salary schedule information we have in here,
It'll probably be a similar year
it'll be a
this
similar year to this.
You said we didn't go to median on this proposal, probably
didn't.
because of monetary reasons.
That's right.
Correct.
And so, was that next year when we wanna go
It's probably
that? And all of a sudden, this 1.6 this year, which we're already funding for next year, and we need another 3.5 on top of that, or, I'm just wondering. I
My
mean,
thing is,
Well, we may not, let's suppose we know what the median should be, and maybe that's gonna cost us 3.5 million. We won't necessarily suggest that we have to go there. We didn't take any of that bite this year. We can only take 25% of it, or 50%. I don't know that we know the numbers yet enough to say what that's going to be.
but one thing that I can say is that the evaluations that we did on every employee, I think needed to be done, and because of that, it does show that even with our current plan, again, we really didn't do anything other than we expanded it to an annual increase. We're using all the same salary information that we currently have in place. So if we did nothing beyond this year, we're still using the same numbers. Instead of doing biannually, we're going to annually. So that is one thing that we would all said is the annual. But we also correct
We're
those-
cleaning up, we're cleaning
cleaning
everything
up.
up.
So,
And
That's
next
all
year
this is,
stands
is
on
a
its own.
cleanup.
yeah, it's next year's the whole new ballgame. But this was something that you have to see where you're at with the people that you have. So to me, this was a very important piece in making sure that we had each person right.
Classified correctly, more so than salaries matching salaries in Williamson County and other counties, right?
Right, this process was more about looking at each person's work history with the county, and are they where they should be, even on our current table. And the other part then was going to an annual increase. So whereas before it was approximately 3.5%, we went to the 1 3/4. We're still using the same methodology, we've just expanded it to an annual increase.
And that
we've not
really,
used the,
that doesn't, cost us really more money per year. I mean, it's the same on the average.
How does our jobs compare to private industry? I mean, because I have a bit of a problem when we look at the surrounding counties and see what they're paying. When we raise our rate, then that throws a pebble in the pond, more or less, and it all looks, and they're all looking at, well, Rutherford just went up, and Williamson wants to be the highest, and, and everything else, and all of a sudden, you're pushing yourself up. The more you pay, then, and then they say, yeah, they're paying more. Where is the benchmark? I mean, if you're just looking at what your next door neighbor's doing, and he wants to do better than you're doing, and you just drive yourself right through I mean, does our pay, is there any way to correlate it to private industry?
for the positions that they have
Yeah.
in private industry,
Yeah.
we can, and I can tell you, we can't go there.
I know, money-wise, but benefit-wise, though, you can back
And
up on.
there are some
you know.
differences in benefits.
Yeah.
There are some things, depending on who the employer is. Some are more lucrative than others, and some have, I should say taken away. Some have reduced their benefits over the years. I do know that we looked at that, I guess sometime back when we were doing GASB. We looked at what other entities, but we primarily looked to see what other counties, and we did poll some of the larger industries here in the county, Pillsbury, Nissan, some of those.
There's no question our retiree
So-
benefits
Are more
far
lucrative.
exceed private industry.
A lot of the private industry has reduced, eliminated, or done matching for their retirement.
and then also on our health insurance, this thing that we just did, we did see that we are,
We're a bit ahead of what private industry is.
Did the study compare our benefits to the benefits in the other counties?
I did not do that, no, sir, I did not.
I mean,
do
some of
know
these
that-
counties might have the 80-20.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, that's
Split
what
up.
we
Our,
that
our
one we
retirement
just did.
benefits outshine everybody else's in the
Well, most-
Middle Tennessee area.
Well, most of the counties are participating in the same retirement plan we are, the TCRS, except for the retiree, I mean, the piece that we have out there, no one else has that. But I'm talking about just a straight up Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System, we're the same.
Did the study take into account cost of living? I mean, I'm concerned that Williamson County has a higher cost of living than Rutherford County. I'm wondering if you picked a different sample of counties, you might get really different results, particularly since Williamson County is a high-cost county.
They took Sumner and Montgomery, which ought to come
Would be
pretty much.
more nearly like us. And Williamson's salary table is not shooting the top out, I don't think, anyway, the county.
It's not on their school system.
We did look at other entities.
I mean, what would happen if you took Williamson County out and replaced it with Wilson County? I know you don't have the answer to that, but
Well, currently, Wilson County doesn't have a salary plan that they're following. They're in the process of implementing that.
We were 10 or 15 years ago.
Also, based on their population size, their services, and their revenues, it wasn't in the same pool as our selection. It would take us quite a bit backwards. When you try to look at something in comparables as revenues and wealth, Williamson County may have some better revenues than us. It's still a comparable pool to what we were using.
I was just using that as an example. One of the things I'm concerned about is you could get really different results as you change the combinations of counties. We've got 95 counties in the state, and we're basing the results on, is it 3 counties, Williamson, Sumner, and is there a third?
But you've got to remember, we're not using that survey data in this process today. This doesn't
None of
even
that is in
use,
here.
isn't even, the only thing that it was used, the only part of it that was used was to look to make sure that we had people in the right pay grade. We looked to see, based on the sample, are our people in the right pay grade? And there were 97 people whose positions would move out of the 1,023 people.
That's a little unclear, because when you say pay grade, it sounds like you're comparing it to their salaries. You're saying you're not comparing it to your salaries, so what does it mean to compare our pay grade with their pay grades?
Well, when I say we're not using their salary basis this is still the current pay table. It's just stratified over 20 years. So we did not use the median from the salary survey this year. All this is a stratified table. However, we did use the salary survey information to determine if their median salary for same positions were the same. And what we found is there was like 12 or 13, 14 positions that pool says that we had undergraded or overgraded. That's the only thing we did use the salary data for this time, was a comparison to make sure that the job titles were in the correct pay grade. But we didn't use the salary information in here as the new median.
I think I understand what you're saying, even though it seems like these different pay grades could be arbitrary. What's a 4 pay grade for us could be a 6 pay grade for Williamson County. You're saying you're not comparing salaries, you just want them to have the same pay grade, but aren't these pay grade indices across counties kind of arbitrary? We have 10, the mayor a moment ago mentioned we ought to have 14, or maybe it was 5. Or we have 14, we ought to have more than 14. So what does it mean to compare a pay grade of 4 in Rutherford County with a pay grade of some other number in another county?
I probably said it wrong. I'm comparing positions. I'm comparing their position against our position and the salary median for each of those to say, do we have them in our correct pay grade? I'm not comparing their pay grades, I'm grading their position's salary versus our position's salary.
Then it sounds like you are comparing salaries across counties.
I am comparing it to make sure I had them in the correct grade,
But
but I didn't use the salary
she's not
data in
used any
here.
of their salary information.
Percentage-wise, what
Percentage-wise.
one worker makes compared to another in another county ought to be the same percentage-wise here.
Correct.
Supervisor, the first person, the deputy, or the patrol officer, or whatever.
Correct. That's what I was.
I'm sorry, Steve slid out. I'm curious as how this went over in steering now.
They voted 6-1 to recommend going with the plan.
The new plan.
The new plan, excuse me. The
current stratified
Mr.
plan.
Jordan looks surprised by that statement.
We voted, Mr. Mayor. I think we.
I don't think we voted to move it on.
Yes.
He may be right.
Okay. That's all. I'll look at it.
Present it to them, I think that
Okay,
was.
I'm on another agenda item.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I saw a look of shock on his face over there.
I think since I've been singled out here, I think that the general feeling in the room, I believe I can speak for steering, was supportive of this. Now that, I think, is very fair. I'd be surprised if any steering member disagreed with that. And I wish Steve was here so he could do this.
But there was one thing you mentioned, if we went to, you said, I think you used the term 56 pay grades. That could, in a lot of places, like I'm on public safety, and I'm listening to the sheriff a lot this year, and he's had quite a variety of positions come before us. And there can be a lot of just, finer gradients in there than what we have now, because like you said, it's a big jump. I can see that, but really help throughout.
I'm kind of like what Will said earlier, we've had some pretty good pay systems in the past, and, we have stuck with them. That's, we didn't feel like we could financially do that. And I think that'll be the problem with any plan that we come up with. Like I said, at one point where if you break it down, say that biannually, you look at it once a year for everybody, I think it'll be a lot more equitable as far as people getting out of step here in the county. Outside the county, that's a different story. But, I do like that part of it. So you can say I'm supportive if somebody asks you the question later on that aspect of this anyway.
I think, I may be over speaking, but I think the majority of the employees who have worked in the county for any number of years know that each year it's a process on this pay plan, the salary, whatever steps we're going to give. It's based upon what revenues the county has, while I think it would be their desire that we could stick to the plan, because I do hear that a lot, that why do we have a plan if we can't stick to it? But you've got to have somewhere in which to place people. You've got to have some method that's consistent and fair. And I think that in this type situation, you almost have to handle it on a year-by-year basis based on that. I mean,
We have an old plan that would call for $372,000 in pay increases. Now we've got an additional $1.2 million in pay increases with this plan, but presumably our original plan was based on some kind of study or analysis too.
I guess it's more of a methodology of how do you apply the plan.
Mhm. I guess what I'm wondering is what is the intuitive, the intuition for why the new pay plan is more appropriate than the $372,000 pay increase that would have occurred under our original pay plan?
I see two parts on that. One is the data from 2005 is 9 years old, and a lot has happened in 9 years. And the other part is, as I mentioned when we first started, is I look at this as the cleanup phase where we're going back and we have a formula and a method in which to evaluate where it is fair and consistent. And I'm not saying they didn't before, it's just as we thought about the way to do it. And that's, to me, is the difference. You know, even if we used the current plan we have, I think the evaluation system is very important because that puts everybody on the same and equal playing field.
Okay.
So that's the difference for me, because you're using data that is 9 years old, and a lot has changed in 9 years.
We need to go back and clean up these people that are out of position,
Yes.
you know, because that's been coming up and biting us year after year. And I don't know if I can support this next year, but I think I could probably support this year to clean up all those people, because we can't keep on coming up here all throughout the year, 1, 2, and 3 people at a time. This person's ought to be here, and it needs to be fixed.
See, things like this have happened, for example, and Lisa can be, she's better informed on this. If you move up from one grade to another, you heard it's 12.5%. But over the years, we kept that at 10%. You couldn't get them an increase for more than 10. So even though you moved them up here and promoted them, you didn't pay them what you should have paid them. And that's propagated itself 1 or 2 or 3 times in the lives of some of our employees.
Which Orson and I were speaking to is, in the 90s, there was a pay study, and it was a time where we had employees who weren't even making the minimum. But you couldn't afford to do the whole plan. So at that point it was, well, let's get everybody to the minimum. If you're under the minimum, get you to the minimum. And everybody else will give you $500, find you on the table and put you there. Okay, so that really didn't address what we're trying to address now. Then, as he said, in 2005, 2006, again, it was going to be very expensive. I said, well, we can't afford to put everybody in how long they've been here. It's, well, how long have you been in that position? Well, if you've been in say a corporal, you just got promoted, you've been in the county 15 years, but you just got promoted to a corporal, well, you've only been a corporal 1 year. So we'll get you there. And then initially, with that 0506 plan, it was, you know, to me, I keep going back to his methodology. It's, well, if you get a promotion, you have to make at least 10%. Well, that's different than saying no more than 10 on where you go. So then you've gotten people in the earlier years that are ahead of the ones who've, like, you know, when we said no more than. So we've got a multitude of sins that we need to, that this addresses.
We've addressed situations like this since I've been on the commission.
Yeah.
I mean, this is nothing new, that we've got people out of sync because of inequities in the system or somebody falling through the cracks or something we didn't anticipate. I mean, that's been happening, and we try to address it. It's not that we're turning deaf ear to our employees, because we value them, no doubt. And we try to give them as much of a raise as we can, but, you know, before I'm gonna say what Will says, that, you know, I support this year, you know, I'm gonna have to see what this entire budget looks like. You know, if we're sitting there looking at a tax increase, I mean, and then giving, you know, percentage raises, you're not seeing that out in the private sector. I mean, you're not seeing that. I mean, just be straight up with you. I have a hard time justifying that.
We wouldn't have brought this here with any, we think we can do the county general budget without a tax increase. I mean, we're not proposing any tax increase for county general. If we are, we go, I said county general.
Okay, well, I'm listening.
And that's all that I've got to control over making a recommendation on it. And we will change this recommendation if it turns out in future weeks that the revenue is not there that we projected.
I think I can support this. I didn't
Okay.
promise. You know, at this point in time, I think I can support.
Well, we want to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody sitting here or anybody that's in steering for them would not want to, you know, help our employees where we can. I mean, that would be ideal to that. We've got retention, we don't lose employees, we don't have to retrain people. I mean, you always, when you lose somebody like that, it's hard to replace them.
The teacher rate is a lot lower, I mean, a lot higher than it is in the private schools, typically, like 2%.
It's part of the total budget.
Turnover.
Okay, that was it. Fun begins. Next week.
You saying this
All
wouldn't?
right. Yes, and the fun begins in earnest on May 15th, our first work session on this proposed budget. And our meetings will start at 5:30. We will start with the general fund. In fact, we have 2 meetings next week, the 15th and the 16th, Tuesday and Wednesday. And we'll be working on the general fund both of those evenings. Is there any other?
Ms. Ely, just wanted to remind the Budget Committee that the meeting at the school board with this committee, Health and Ed, and the school board and Mr. Gill is at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock,
Rather
May
than our usual
22nd.
5:30. It's 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
May 22nd,
Second.
at 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
So that's a different time, okay. Any other business that needs to come before our committee? Thank you, gentlemen, we are adjourned.